I think I'm going to start with what was supposed to be my presentation today. And I've outlined the importance of the matter, but it is not a new matter. If I look at Accountancy Europe, my organization, in the accountancy profession, we've been working on sustainability and sustainability reporting for more than 20 years. But there were people who were much earlier than that. And just to take a benchmark, I thought it was interesting to remind you of the report that Mido and his team did in 1972. That's quite some time ago. And in this report that they produced for the Club of Rome, they actually outlined that we have a fundamental problem with our economic model. That was 1972. And the report was met with quite some skepticism, if not denial. But the interesting thing is that a little bit later, 30 years later, they came up with an update of this report. And the findings of this update were quite interesting. First of all, they noted that none of the anticipation in the 1972 report were proven wrong. They even noticed that despite the denial, the reality is that very often the anticipation that they made in the report were actually underestimated. And that, I think, is pretty bad news. If you're not an optimist, and that's not my case, but if you're a pessimist, so you will read in the report that this bunch of researchers actually think that the window for sustainable development has closed. What we should be talking about now is all about resilience. It's not a terribly optimistic view, but mankind has always managed to take itself out of trouble, so let's hope. But that was 1972 and 2002. Well, next came the European Commission in 2014, and they started putting growth on the agenda, which I think is interesting considering the discussions that were held in this report. But it only took them an additional 4 years to come with this very important topic that we're going to be discussing today on sustainable development and sustainable finance, and how finance and financial markets are and can be an instrumental driver of change in this field. And what I find really, something we should all applaud is that although it took that long, it only took less than 2 months to start delivering on the action plan. So if you would put these dates on a curve, it would probably a curve looking exactly like that, like the one of the famous Anthropocene indicators, a curve that is going very steadily up. And I think that's good news as regards the policy agenda here in town, because it is due time that we advance on these issues, because as we see, the indicators are not going well. They're not going in the right direction at all. So what I wanted to do as part of my presentation before trying to moderate this very expert and senior panel is to give you an idea of what we in the accountancy profession think we should be doing. And we're only part of the solution, like each and every one of you, because I think this issue is something that we all have a responsibility to tackle as people, as consumers, but also as professionals in whatever walks of life we're operating. So let's take a quick look at what the accountancy profession contribution can be. Well, first of all, accountants are involved in very different capacities. Of course, many of you think that we're mostly involved in public practice, and a significant proportion of my members actually work in accountancy firms of all sizes, big and small. But another almost half of professional accountants work in business or in the public sector. These are the CFOs. These are people working in finance departments. And a lot of these people are working in corporate governance. And we work a lot on corporate governance because we believe that corporate governance is the key instrument that can drive businesses toward a adapted agenda to the circumstances that we face, and that can focus the work of those in charge of governance to sustainable value creation, and focus not only on quarterly reports, but also on the longer term. Corporate governance is the instrument to do so. And to do so, corporate governance needs information. And information is at the heart of what accountants have been specializing in providing. And on that, well, we believe that we need to continue the key role that we've been playing in providing transparency to markets. But more and more, this transparency is not only financial. I said we've been working on this agenda for 20 years. Well, we've mostly been working on non-financial information reporting. And we applauded and supported the initiative of the European Commission on that. And we look forward to contributing to the review of the guidelines. But financial information is not an island. And I think what is important today is that we connect all the different business information that we have. That's why in Accountancy Europe we've been talking about corporate reporting. We don't talk about financial reporting anymore. And about 3 years ago, we did a report on the future of reporting. And that report actually found that it is critically important that non-financial information is connected to financial information. It's the only way to make sense of business information and to change the agenda of management. And this is also justified, I believe, by the fact that this is another finding of the report. The corporate information at large is consumed by a lot more people than investors only. And it is important that corporate governance and corporate reporting do take into account this new agenda and the multi-stakeholder dimension of the reporting that we provide. Now, one of the cornerstones of the work of accountants, especially when they work in public practice as independent auditors, is to provide not only transparency, but trust. And trust is essential to markets. So this information that is being provided is only valuable if it is reliable. And here we believe that independent assurance will be a key element to build trust in the information that is provided. If you look at the high-level group report, the words greenwashing are all around the place as one of the threats that we see on this agenda. And all of us in the room, I'm sure, have examples in mind of greenwashing. Well, I think all forms of audit and assurance services can definitely play an instrumental role in preventing or deterring greenwashing. Now, it's very often said that the issue we're facing is global. And I do believe, well, that it is, it's obvious, but I believe we also need to address it at global level. And Europe has been instrumental in fostering the global standard infrastructure, especially for financial reporting. And I know there is some debate on the role of IFRS, and I think that's something we can talk about. I'm quite sure that someone will raise the question in the audience. But if we're tackling a global issue, I think we're much better off in trying to continue addressing the issue at global level, using the leadership that the European Union has demonstrated on the issue of global standard, and use this influence to improve global standards. I think it would be, well, probably dangerous that by trying to achieve good objectives, well-intentioned objectives, we dismantle or put at risk the global standard setting infrastructure. So governance, reporting, auditing, and our experience in the setting of standards and the global nature of standards is what we in the accountancy profession have on offer to play our part in solving this vital issue that we face, not only in Europe, but around the globe.